Welcome to the show. It's your boy N.I.C. and the place to be. My main man on the ones and twos, the human sports almanac, the legend himself, Jason Baum. Yo, Baum, what's good, man? How you feeling?
Goody. What's up, my brother? Life's good, feeling good. A lot of drama on the rec sports scene right now, but we can talk about that craziness later. Ready to jump into some basketball. Obviously, a lot of craziness going on today, not only just on the court, but in the stands of your home arena.
Yeah, quite a few things going on as always. Yeah, we got a full deck. Quite a few things going on for your boy here in the Goodrich household. I'm going to just give you a little bit of insight into what's been going on in my life these last couple days. Those of you that don't know, I grew up in New Jersey, but I currently live out in Arizona. And Tuesday afternoon, about 2 hours before we hopped on and did the show, my air conditioner stopped working. And in Arizona, this week, it's the hottest week that we've really had all summer. It's 112 all week. And so when you got 112 and, you got some older in-laws and just people in general, dog, everybody, it's an immediate emergency. So I actually hit up Baum at first and said, yo, my man, I don't know if I'm going to be able to hop on today. I was able to get in touch with I have a warranty on the air conditioner. Thank God, first and foremost. Was able to get in touch with them. They got a guy out here. He was like, yeah, it's not a fix. You need a whole new unit. And he was like, I'll take all the measurements now. Hopefully we can get back out here tomorrow. He left, said he had to go back and talk to his people. He obviously wasn't the guy who ran the show. Nice guy, though. And then I talked to them that night, and they're like, yeah, we can get out there. We can get you a new unit on Friday. And I say that on Tuesday. So I got the whole fam in a hotel. The dog, everybody's in a hotel right now. My daughter is in the middle of states for softball 12U in Arizona. So we had a game on Tuesday. They won 7-6. Very exciting game. She didn't get she was 0 for 2 from the plate, but she did have get a runner over from second, which led to then a passed ball, which led to a run, and they end up winning by 1 run. So we'll take it and, make those productive outs. Definitely don't go up there. And my biggest thing with my kids is never go down looking. If you swing, we can have conversations about strike zone and things like that. Never, ever go down looking. I hate that. I hate when I watch my favorite player, when I watch Mets players do it, and my kids know, man, swing the bat. All right, we up here to get hits. We're not up here to get walked. And my daughter has a very discerning eye, honestly. Her knowledge of the strike zone is almost too good for the age level that she plays at, because she expects it to be what she sees when she watches the big leagues on TV. And sometimes, in that age range, you let it go a little bit bigger, just because if not, you're going to walk everybody. And there's some times where she's, looking back at an ump and a little bit annoyed because there was a ball that's a little bit outside, a couple inches out there that they call a strike. But her eye will serve her well someday. But you got to swing that back. Got to protect, especially with 2 strikes. But so yeah, they won that game, and we come back that night. It's nighttime. It's not that hot. Next day, we're figuring things out. I put everybody in the hotel. And so I've just been going back and forth between, my day job and getting out to these games that are almost an hour away, and then to and from the hotel, taking the dog out, walking the dog. If I'm a little bit extra shiny today, that's why I got the space air conditioner right next to me. It's pumping. I got it tilted up a little bit, so it's hitting me. That's why I'm wearing the jersey today. Honestly, it's like if I wear a shirt, I'm going to sweat through it during the show. So if I start getting sweat marks on my hat, or my face gets real glossy, you got to bear with me. Hey, it's 95 degrees in this house right now. I do have the AC unit, but it is still 95, and I'm still here bringing you the show. So, shout out to my man Baum. He's helping me, be a little bit more consistent and on top of my game, and definitely making everything easier for me. And, hey, we're upgrading Baum. Okay. You might notice that Baum's lighting is a little bit different this time. Next time, we're going to have a new camera. We're still waiting to iron out the kinks with that with our production team. But I feel like, you getting upgraded is kind of my way of officially just, welcoming you to N.I.C Studios, you know what I mean, as the super producer. And we got a lot of big things to come. But yeah, just wanted to give you guys an idea of what I have going on right now. And but hey, man, the show must go on. Like I tell my kids all the time, sometimes things ain't gonna go your way. It's about how you deal with it. And we just got finished watching the World Cup quarterfinal match between France and Morocco. France, what many people think is the best team in the world, they come in here favored just slightly over Spain to win the World Cup. And Mbappe continues to show why he is the greatest scorer at his level or age that we've ever seen, because everybody talks about Messi and the records that he's setting as far as World Cup goals, and Mbappe actually just went ahead of him for overall World Cup points, and he is significantly. How old is Mbappe? Baum, do you know?
He is 26 or 27 because
right.
the World Cup in 2018, he was 18.
He's not 30. I know that. You know what I'm saying?
He is not even. Yeah, he's not close to. He's 27 right now, and he will be 28 at the end of the year.
Yo, man, that guy, he's fucking something special. At one point, one of the commentators asked the other one. He said, "Hey, is that like something where his able to put that spin on the ball? Is that something where that's something that you work on, or it's a God-given talent?" And he said it's probably more of the latter, but clearly, he has worked on it. And the only explanation for that is that it's a combination of both. This guy was given, blessed with a couple feet of God, and then also, in addition to that, has done all the work to make himself just an absolute special player. Once again, he's another player where you can see the entire team is always looking for him once they get into that box and literally looking to give him space. And then he does such a great job of taking runs at angles that take defenders away. With their second goal that they scored, the commentators, they showed a replay and they showed how him running, taking them away is what ended up opening up the lane. But that shot that he makes, when the guy tries not to get nutmegged, the guy who knows him well, who plays on a club team with him, or at least has, and he goes and he puts his legs together, and Mbappe just bends it around him in for the goal, just hits just inside the side of the net. I mean, it's not even like he was typically side of the net. It's like when they're on that diagonal angle and they hit the side. He hit that shit from basically straight on. I mean, just unbelievable, man. He's such a pleasure to watch. And it's interesting to continue to see, what he's going to do, because he's going to shatter every Messi record. He's got at least 2 more World Cups after this one. I mean, and there's a good chance, who knows? Who knows what it's going to do? I mean, obviously, athletes are playing longer and at a higher level than they ever have before. But shout to France, shout to Mbappe, shout to that French African team, as I like to call them. It's funny because a lot of these countries, they're always saying, like, I listen, I'm not over there, I don't know, but there seems to be just a rising thing around the world right now where a lot of people are seeming to want to be a little bit anti-immigration in their whatever their respective country is, and those over there in that country, they're always saying, like, no more migrants and everything like that from these different countries, from these African countries, from these Arab and Persian countries. They don't feel that way about the soccer teams. Okay, go look at England's soccer team. Go look at France's or Belgium or any of that. And there's brothers on there that are as African as can be. I mean, their parents are straight, and their names are things like Mbappe. And so, let's just make sure that, we keep that same energy across the board and not lump everybody together. All right, I'll get off my soapbox, but man, Mbappe, he's impressive. He's impressive. What he's doing is truly, truly amazing to watch. You got that Belgium versus Spain game coming up. You got, America's new favorite team, Norway, against England. Everybody is, it seems like I'm not the only one who's hopping on the Holland bandwagon and just like the overall Norway team, and it's been a really, really interesting World Cup, even with the lackluster performance and the and totally being outclassed by Belgium that the USA had, and that every 4 years when we end up losing in embarrassing fashion in the World Cup, the entire U.S. is like, why can't we be good at this sport? And this year, I feel like, I don't know if it's just like the social media era. It's me versus my chair again. Hold on. I don't know if it's the social media era, or I don't know if it maybe is just, the continued falling short, but it seems louder this time than ever before. I think you had the U.S. coming in with a lot more confidence and supposed to be like our best team. And then you see us play against the higher level teams, or even when you just watch the higher level teams play each other, and you realize that we're just not on the same plane currently. Okay, so I believe that there's a whole lot of things, and there's a whole lot of people smarter than me coming up with different reasons why we can't reach some of these different levels. One of the main people who is getting a lot of the smoke now is Kristen Pulisic. He, after the game, he says something about being that now he can rest, and then today it comes out that he had like a micro fracture and some sort of something with his tibia. Oh, Bum, what was the exact wording on the injury?
It was a bone bruise and a microfracture in his tibia.
Okay, well, I can tell you this right now. My 9-year-old son, well, he's 10 years old now, but he when he was still just 9, first basketball game of the season, some kid fell on the back of his leg, and he had a clean break through his entire tibia, and he tried harder to get up and stay in the game than Pulisic did yesterday. Honestly, like, the guy's injured. I'm not going to be like, oh, well, listen, he's faking it or anything like that. But at the end of the day, injured or not, when he is healthy, he just is underwhelmed massively in these last 2 World Cups and in a lot of our international competition in general. He was supposed to be the guy. People want to call him Captain America. You give him number 10, and he just hasn't lived up to that hype. And now it's coming out. You got Landon Donovan coming out talking about how, his people make it very hard for people to get around him. He doesn't talk with the commentators, and, he's this is the type of teammate and the type of guy he is. And I think that that's all very damning. And I think the fact that nobody's coming out and being like, nah, man, and defending him, I think that that says something as well. And I think that what we're seeing more and more when it comes to sports is that having a true leader means so much. I've always said this to my dad, and I think it continues to prove true. The team takes on the personality of the coach and the best player. And when those two have synergy, and when that best player allows you to coach him, it changes everything. I thought that, like, a perfect example of that is at one point, Pop and Duncan. And I've heard Pop say that specifically about Duncan, about, the whole letting me coach him and how that makes everybody else have to listen at a certain level. Another example, obviously, in the modern day is Mike Brown and Brunson. And Mike Brown referenced Pop and Duncan when he was talking about that with Brunson when he was on the Roommates podcast. And you can just see how the entire Knicks team takes on Brunson's, personality and his inability to quit and his belief and his emphasis on everybody sticking together. And yes, I can turn any conversation into a way to praise Jaylen Brunson, Mike Brown, and the championship New York Knicks. But, yeah, man, look at Messi and look at Holland. So, I'm starting to get some soccer trickling into my algorithm. I'm liking it. I told you I'm a Man City fan now. I'm all the way in. I ain't even got to watch the documentary. I'm in. And I see that there's multiple videos showing Messi and Holland and just how they treat other people, how they treat fans, how they treat teammates, how they treat equipment managers and things like that. And I think that that probably has a lot to do with their success and the reason why they can be such amazing leaders on their team. Pulisic is not that guy. He's not. And the bigger conversation coming out now is how it is a pay-to-play just overall structure here in the United States when it comes to soccer. And in other countries, when somebody on your team or somebody who's young, they identify as a talent, they do everything to develop him and make it so that he doesn't have to come out of pocket big money to be able to grow and become the best that he can be. And then it becomes advantageous for everybody involved. His youth team ends up getting paid out. And then, that's how you have a small nation like Belgium with just talent all over the field. This is not just see, that's the thing. The whole, it's our fifth biggest sport. Look at the population for Belgium for me. I think it's like, it's not even a tenth, not even close to a tenth of the population of the United States, which I'm pretty sure is like 375 billion. Yeah, go ahead.
It's roughly 11.8 million people per Google.
11.8. And U.S. is like 375 million, right? It
will have to check
changes.
on
It
that one
goes
as
up.
well and
I know it
confirm.
was 350 for a while, but I'm pretty sure it just went up. And so this is not just this is our fifth sport. This is, something systematic or just something about a lack of love for the game. And another thing that you got to take into account here is that Brazil is having a similar problem to what we're having right now. Brazil, they're going crazy right now, even though they, are much more just overall successful and respected than the U.S. is. Brazil is going crazy right now because they haven't won since what, 2004, and I think that's the year. I might be off, but they haven't won in quite some time, and they're not even getting into the round of 8. They're not getting out of the round of 16. And so they're going crazy out there. I read somebody talk about the fact that they're not. It's not a bunch of people playing in favelas and playing that facile game or whatever it's called, where, it's teaching them to be in tight spots and be able to do things. And it's not like that anymore. It's getting to more of a model similar to ours where, you got to put your kid on a club and that shit costs real money. I'm seeing $15,000-$20,000. I know personally when my daughter played club soccer at the age of 8, it was costing over $3,000. And first of all, they tell you it's like $1,500, and then, oh well, we're gonna get another kit. They had these nice Puma kits, bag, sweatsuit, top, bottom, 3 different jerseys, 2 different shorts, multiple socks, all that. Okay, all right. If anybody wants to get fresh, wants to make sure the kids are fresh, I'm with that. So I wasn't that mad. But then, as the season's going on, it's continually just hitting us up for more. Oh, well, we want to do this tournament. It wasn't on the schedule, so it's going to be an extra, couple hundo. Then, we want to do this. We want to do that. I end up adding it up. It's like over $3,000. He's 8 years old. And they told my daughter at 8 years old, because softball season was coming up and we were saying, hey, like, we're going to take some time off because she's going to play softball. She can't do both at the same time. Well, she needs to choose. She's got some potential, but if she ever wants to be anything big in this, she's going to have to choose at 8 years old. Yeah, I told that coach to tell the story walking, and she has much more taken to softball than soccer. So it seems like overall it was the best decision, but that's a crazy, crazy situation. I have a friend who has a kid who plays youth hockey, and he is very good. Like, last cut for the 14U national team, plays on the US regional team for, the Northeast. And he goes to the same high school that we went to growing up. And he is seriously considering sending him to a prep school in New England to be able to play there. Can't get a full scholarship, but they give him grants and stuff like that where it makes it, less expensive. Right now, he's paying $25,000 to $30,000 a year for his 14-year-old to play hockey. This is one of the reasons that I have always, to me, hockey for my kids. Not, first of all, I don't know that much about it, but if they really want to play it, I'd try my best. But can we not play the one where you need fiberglass sticks that are $100 a piece? Yeah, I'm good on that.
Good, I gotta jump in here on the hockey stick conversation as somebody who played a little bit of the sport as well. I remember back in the day, I got one for $65 on sale, and I thought it was an absolute crazy bargain. Those sticks are going for well over $250 now. And what's interesting is there's some people up in Canada who've created a business on fixing them, and they do it for $60 to $80 a stick, which is great. So those are good things to look at and something that's kind of helping, but it's still just an insane investment to play hockey.
That's what's up. That's dope. Yeah, man. It's really it's a crazy, crazy, just overall commitment, both financially and time wise, that you're asking for these parents. Trust me, between 3 kids, all of them doing activities. We're, every night there's a practice, there's a game, all Saturdays, Sundays, and there's often, as we're getting older now, as the kids are getting older and they get more serious, Saturdays, honestly, my wife and I end up having to, split up the work, and one of us ends up missing something. And it's tough. It really is tough time wise, but hey, that's the life we have chosen. But this cost thing and the fact that 80, 90, 95% of people, the model that I saw yesterday and the cost to be able to play club soccer and be able to become somebody who is, can be a national, a player on the national team, or better yet, somebody who is on the national team but is also playing the Premier League and some shit like that. One of the, top few hundred players in the world. Yo, you're talking Most people in the U.S. cannot afford to do that. So you are just eliminating so many kids. And honestly, if you go and you look at these European nations and the overall hue of their team, here in the US, we have to put a much bigger effort into bringing hockey into urban environments. That's the only way that we catch up. And you know what? I honestly like. We only care about catching up every 4 years. Nobody cares. But it seems like U.S. soccer has invested a lot, and clearly at the moment they're not getting the returns. People, our boy in the group chat was talking earlier about a couple kids that are supposed to be coming up that are supposed to be good. All right, yeah, okay. I've been hearing that. Aldo. Well, come on. I've heard the story before. I need to see it. It would be nice for us to, be a player on the most major stage in the largest sporting event in all of sports, because nobody loves sports like we do here in this country. We have the amount of people that it cannot be one of our top four sports, and we could still be more of a powerhouse than we are right now. I think structurally things have to change, but in this country, any system that is for the betterment of the overall people as opposed to the profits of the profiteers, it doesn't usually work out so well here in the good old US of A. That seems to be something that we continue to not only not figure out, but buck against that entire concept. But yeah, man, Pulisic, tough one for him. Some of the I think he needs to go away, not make any statements, rest up, get healthy, be the man, and then now maybe you can be like the old guy who's ushering in these young dudes on the next run up to an eventual World Cup. But it's not. He really hasn't impressed me, man. He has not impressed me at all when I've seen him in international play. There's certain times you see him and you feel like, all right, this guy's really skilled and he controls the game. But there's way too many other times where you feel like, he's just giving the ball away over and over again. And somebody in Pulisic's camp. Boom, you said this in the chat too. I'd already written it in my notes to bring it up. Somebody got to reach out and say, hey, we got to stop running the commercial. Okay. I want people to say this is the guy who changed American soccer. Stop running the commercial.
I said it was cringe as hell in the PG term. Like it was like seeing that during the TV timeout of this like really, it was laughable. It was like he didn't really change much. He just disappeared when the moment mattered most. Also, while I'm on, I wanted to name the two players you were just talking about. One of them is Benjamin Flowers. He's going to be transferring to Chelsea. The other, you're going to have some interest in this one, Kevon Sullivan. He's going to your Man City Blues.
Let's go Blues. Oh man, let's go. Okay, it's another good reason. They got a big time American coming. Yo, I'm all in, baby. Let's go. And hold on, isn't that a kid he's like from Jersey, Philly type area, right? South Jersey.
Correct. Yeah, he's from Jersey, Philly.
You know who else is from that area? Who else was born in and grew? Well, actually, was born in Central New Jersey, but grew up in South Jersey, where as New Jerseyans, we barely claim them, and most of them claim Philly. Jaylen Brunson. I think that's a good sign. It's a good sign. All right, man. Kawhi. So Kawhi to Toronto, foregone conclusion. We've talked about it. Kawhi's going back to Toronto. Comes out today, not so fast, my friend. Kawhi Leonard, that trade has been. Is it officially rescinded? Is it put on hold? I don't know exactly what the term is. What was Sham's tweet on it, Bomb?
Trade was put on hold because of the pending investigation of the situation with the Clippers' potential salary cap circumvention due to the alleged funneling of money through that company, Aspire LLC.
So this is one question I have. This is one thing I don't totally understand about the situation. My understanding is that he signed there, and that some under the table slick shit was like, all right, but this Aspire company is also going to give you like 30 mil to like be something, an ambassador, a spokesperson or whatever, and you're not really going to have to do shit for that 30 mil. So you're going to get an extra 30 mil. But he was still on a max deal, no? So it's not like did they give him less money? And then that made the difference? Is that's what's being alleged?
Yeah, exactly. It's what it seems like is the slick shit. It's they gave him less money and they made up the difference through this Aspire company, is what the allegations seem like.
That's some dumb shit, man. It's just
Clever.
it's not that clever. It's not that clever. In today's world, there's too much of a paper trail of everything that happens. It's just not. And it's $30 million. Shit like that don't just not get noticed. That's some shit you do in the '90s or maybe the '80s. You can't do that in 2024. No, I don't like that. I think that's so silly. I think it's silly that Kawhi would even let himself get mixed up in some shit like that. I don't know if there's going to be some fine or something like that, then just tell us what the fine is. And Ballmer will fucking stroke. He got that shit in his couch cushions. But at the end of the day, yo, man, that's some silly shit. Like, look, with like a Brunson, I'm sure somebody has a conversation with him that says, hey, JB, you're going to take a little bit less. But just by being Jalen Brunson in New York City over the course of the next however many years, that's going to make you however many tens, hundreds of millions of dollars. Now that you won as Jalen Brunson, fuck that 100 million. You make up that difference easily just by being that guy. You might make up a large portion of that just on the meals you never have to buy again. Show up at Carbone, and nobody is letting you pay for a meal. Fuck, they're not letting Jordan Clarkson pay for a meal. Jordan Clarkson, little tease. But yo, man, I just think that's crazy, yo. I think that's such a silly thing to do. And now this is on hold. I mean, if this ends up not being able to go through, because okay, so from Toronto's point of view, they say, well, if we say that Kawhi is suspended for 50 games, then I don't want to bring him on because I got to pay him. His contract is guaranteed, and he can't be the player that we need him to be. So then they rescind the trade. Now fucking Ingram goes back. That's bananas. It's never been this far down the road that I can remember that a trade ends up getting rescinded. I remember like A-Rod, it was like a done deal that he was going to Boston. And then that went away, and like a day later, it went to the Yankees. And Yankee fans were going fucking bananas. They were like, yo, we got him, and Boston, this is great. I can't ever remember a week, at least a week, 2 weeks, at least a week later, being like, oh, actually, not so fast. Could you think of another example like that, Baum?
Just in the NBA, you had a trade rescinded. It was last year. It was Mark Williams going to the Lakers. There was like the whole thing happened, and then the physical got failed, and then he went back. And then you also had the Max Crosby thing this past March with the Ravens and the Raiders.
I know, but I feel like all those things all wrap themselves. That the whole rescinding period was much shorter. Like it happened much closer to when it to the actual and we always know that pending physicals is the thing. I mean, yeah. I remember the NBA not letting Chris Paul go to the Lakers, but even that seemed like it was like, it wasn't like we went a whole week of thinking this was absolutely done and then it switched up.
Yeah, but the thing with the NBA at this time of year with the offseason is the new league. You have that moratorium period from July 1st to July 6th. So like you make all these trades, and this is why you see all the craziness with the draft day hats too. Is because nothing can process till like early July, so that's why it takes so long. So the trade had just been agreed upon; it was never official. And then in terms of what could happen to Kawhi, there's really not going to be any suspension for him. It's more what could happen to the Clippers versus what will happen to him personally. The only thing that'll happen to him.
Then why does Toronto have it on hold?
Because if it turns out that the Clippers did circumvent the cap, Kawhi's contract would become voided and he would become a free agent. So they can just get him for free.
Oh, word. Yeah. Okay. All right. No doubt. I see. Okay. That's not. See this. Well done, super producer, my man Jason Baum on the ones and twos. Because that is well explained and that makes things a lot different. I'm like, well, why? Okay. All right. Well, you heard what the man said. Jordan Clarkson re-signed with the Knicks, 1 year, $3.9 million, vet minimum. Yo, man, listen. It's the power of friendship. The Knicks have brought everyone except for Mitchell Robinson back, and Jordan Clarkson clearly loves playing in New York. Who doesn't? He loves playing on his team. Let's run it back. And honestly, at the end of the day, when you really take a second and you look at what the Knicks did this offseason, to have Shamet, Clarkson, Alvarado, Diawara, and Drummond. Those are the players that we have signed thus far, and we still have about another vet minimum around there left to be able to bring in hopefully a third-string center, hopefully a young guy who defends the rim. But for those players, Shamet, Clarkson, Alvarado, Diawara, Drummond, their combined cap hit next year is $17.5 million. Mitchell Robinson's is north of $15 million. John Collins, $17 million. So John Collins on the Pistons, which their offseason's been an unmitigated disaster thus far. If they don't fucking somehow pull a rabbit out of the hat and get Bron, or do, listen, in the NBA, anything can happen. I've even seen shit like KD going to the Pistons. I do not want that to happen. I don't want to do. KD scares me as a player, but the guy never fucking wins. So it's almost like, yo, if he goes there, does that almost like seal their fate that they're not going to win? He can't be your leader. Does he play second fiddle to Cade and let Cade be the leader? I like Cade as my leader more than KD. I like Cade and KD's game next to each other. But if they don't end up pulling and doing something like that, they have had such a lackluster offseason for a team that won 60 games last year. You still have the situation with their center. What's his name? Just had the huge year.
Jalen Duren.
There you go, Duren. They gotta. Are they bringing him back? Or, is he going to move on? They seem to be miles apart as far as a deal. He's, talked to a couple other teams out west, of course. Lakers they were talking about, but he's no longer on the Lakers board with the guys that they've picked up. And I just feel like they've had such a lackluster offseason. And when you look at them bringing in John Collins for a total of $17 million next year, as opposed to Shamet, Clarkson, Alvarado, Diawara, and Drummond combined only costing $17.5 million, shout to the Don, Leon Rose. Well done. Well done. Sorry, man. I gotta stay hydrated. It's hot in here. It's hot in here, people. It's hot in here. Bomb. Are you a Game of Thrones guy at all?
I watched a little bit of it, but I'm not as diehard as the chat. Is what I gotta own here.
There's some people in our chat that are really into it. I don't know. I thought about it because I have this. My mom made me this for Christmas a few years ago. She got my wife one that says Mother of Dragons, and got me one that says Father of Wildlings. Yo, I gotta figure out who makes this. They need to sponsor the show. I've had this cup for years. I don't put it in the dishwasher, but it's one of those cups that keeps everything fucking ice cold, and like the stuff that's on it, like none of it has come off at all. So I got to figure out who makes it. Shout to them. But Game of Thrones, man. Bomb. Listen, okay. First and foremost, I realize that between your extracurriculars, kickball, soccer, you really like doing shit that's with your feet. You're gonna end up being one of those volleyball leagues where you only use your feet and your head at some point. But between all these things and just traveling the country and going to all different types of sporting events, I realize you don't have a whole lot of time for shows to dive into. But if you're not watching if you didn't watch Game of Thrones, you're bugging. It's fucking, come on, it's the best. People say that the last season was so horrible. It wasn't its best. It felt a little rushed. I think people got a little bit too nostalgic and they forgot who Khaleesi is and wanted some kumbaya fucking ending, and that was never how it was going to be. If you know that show, Bomb, you got to start watching Game of Thrones. I'm telling you, the first season, the first few episodes.
I did watch Game of Thrones. I did watch. I just haven't watched House of Dragon.
Oh, you watched all.
I did watch Game of Thrones. Oh yeah, I went to watch parties like every week during the final season.
Watch parties for Game of Thrones is crazy. I watched Game of Thrones episode 1 the night it came out because I was just like an HBO head at that point, and I read an article that said like this was like the answer to having to cancel Rome. If you've never watched Rome, which there's only 2 seasons of on HBO, that shit is so fucking good. It is so good. It's about the whole Julius Caesar time, and it has the best fight scene of any show or any movie that I've ever seen in my entire life. And it's not just the actual fighting that happens. It's one of those things where you have to watch the show to understand the emotion and the situation behind it. And it's just, it's unbelievable. I watch it on YouTube, I don't know, probably like once a month. I watch that shit before I hit the gym, just to get me hyped. I got that's on there. My before the gym bananas backpack is one of the things I like to watch before. If you're a challenge fan, you know what that means.
No, this 2 right here, big challenge, people. And
Oh,
yes,
yeah.
the banana backpack is literally one of the greatest scenes ever. And shout out our guy CT. Remember when we got to meet him?
We did get to meet CT, courtesy of my main man over at Challenge Mania, Scott Yeager. He has been, doing those events and had that podcast with Derek for years. And he's a very good friend of mine from back in our days in Syracuse, back in the early 2000s. That's my dude. Banana Backpack, Bart Scott, the Can't Wait speech is another one. The Kobe job's not finished press conference is another one. Those are all in that playlist. But yeah, man, Rome was very expensive to make because it was a period piece, and HBO was so dedicated to having the proper like wardrobe with like the actual fabric that was worn. So it was wild expensive for them to make. It's why they only did 2 seasons. It was doing well. It wasn't a huge hit, but it was doing well. And so when they were looking for something with that same kind of like old, barbaric, gritty feel. And when they came upon Game of Thrones as, like a show idea, that's one of the reasons that they jumped on it. So I was like, episode 1, watching it live. Let's go. Into it. And so I've always been into it. And someday I want to read the books. But I'm the opposite. A lot of people like reading the books and then they watch the movie. I like watching the movie and then read the books. Because I feel like if you go book, then movie, you end up disappointed. If you go movie, then book, you end up finding out more. Like The Godfather, I'd watch both of those movies I watched both of those movies probably 100 times before I read the book. And then when I read the book, I was like, yo, I got that. Oh, I got it right there. If you see, you can't see, but if you look close, there's a few books right there. We got an Ethiopian Bible. We got Blood in the Garden, which was gifted to me by my super producer, Jason Baum. We got The Godfather by Mario Puzo, and then we got Man Child in the Promised Land by Claude Brown. 4 books that I absolutely, try not have read all the way through, but also just try to pick up and read a little bit every once in a while. And if you watch the movies of The Godfather and you love them, read the book. You get some context to some shit. Like the full story of Luca Brasi, Luca and who he actually is, and his story, how Vito found him and all that shit. Crazy. It's an absolute must read if you're a Godfather person. And then like the opposite flip side, Hunger Games. I read all those books. The movies left a little bit to be desired. There's a whole lot of shit that's not explained. So I like to go shows, then go to books with the more detail. And when it comes to, A Song of Ice and Fire and all the George R.R. Martin books, they keep coming out with new shows. So I don't want to fuck it up. Because House of Dragon, the first 2 seasons were all right. This 3rd season is cooking. A few episodes in, this shit is cooking. And it's like, okay, all right, okay. So I'm enjoying that. They also did A Night, whatever the fuck it was called, that came out a few with Egg and with that was good. It was very different. That was extremely different than Game of Thrones or the feeling of House and Dragon, but they were both very, very interesting. Last week it was a soccer podcast. Last episode was a soccer podcast. Today it's a Game of Thrones podcast. Hey, yo, we do whatever we want here on Independent Nick. But yeah, man, I think that this whole LeBron decision, and it's coming up, and what exactly he's going to do. Rich Paul said today, I think that, first of all, Rich Paul talks about this every single day. I've seen people be like, yo, like, I think it was Austin Rivers. Like, why is he talking about this every day, being an agent? Bro, that's like people telling you to be a basketball player and don't podcast. Like, I hate when people try to put somebody in a lane and says, like, basically shut up and dribble, do the thing that you do, shut up and do that, do this and don't. Yo, man, fuck that. If you got a platform and you want to come out here and you want to talk about some shit, how you gonna say that shit when you talking on a podcast? You on your platform telling somebody else that they shouldn't talk on their platform? I don't know, man. Austin Rivers, sometimes I get it. Like he almost like, it's almost like he's been this like just poster boy for nepotism for years. And it seems like recently, like he's trying to just buck back, and anybody who says that about him, if it's like the Asian dude who does the podcast with like Villanueva and Raymond Felton and all that, there's a clip that I saw of them two going back and forth where that whole like, well, you ain't never done shit like I've done, so therefore you can't speak on me. Where it's like, no, man, there's a lot of people that speak on basketball that didn't play in the NBA. Okay, you were a National High School Player of the Year. You went to Duke. You were a lottery pick, all those things. Yeah, man, no doubt. But like, what? No one can, unless somebody played in the NBA, they can't have an opinion. Come on, man. Come on. Honestly, that dude got to his spot where he is on a fairly popular podcast with some NBA players. He has to work harder to get to that spot to be able to be on that podcast than those NBA players do, because those NBA players, it's adjacent for them. Okay, because you are an NBA player, now we give a fuck what you have to say. That dude, through hustle, through charm, through whatever the fuck he had to do, got to that spot because of him. It's not his bona fides. It's not it's not some great journalist. He's not somebody who played the game at any sort of high level. So acting like he can't have an opinion, I think it's kind of bullshit. But I mean, obviously I feel that way. I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you right now if I didn't feel that way. LeBron decision is not close. When you hear the word decision around LeBron, people, are automatically start thinking of something that happened. How long ago was it, Bomb?
It was 16 years ago. It was actually like, I think the anniversary of it was 16 years ago, like 2 days ago.
I saw a video, just a clip of him saying like, I'm gonna take my talents down to South Beach. It was a play off of Kobe when he announced, he said, I'm gonna take my talents to the NBA. He's showing a little homage to Kobe. That part is cool. At that point, I was really hoping that he was gonna come to the Knicks. And then I found out later on that the Knicks foobarred it with like a video of like the Sopranos and fucking John McEnroe and shit being like, hey, come play with the Knicks instead of talking any basketball. Which, if you look at the regime back then at that time, it's not surprising that we fucked it up. But look, man, I think wherever Bron goes, it's going to be interesting. I think that if you go back and you watch the decision, this is one of the things that jumped out at me. Dude, he's so unsure of himself. He's so not the Bron that you see talking now. Like, he's such a young kid, and he's just, if you hear people talk about it, he was so surprised at the backlash he got for it, because he figured that it was like, yo, I'm raising all this money for the Boys and Girls Club, and I'm just basically telling people it was the biggest free agency in the history of the NBA. I wouldn't even say at that time. It's still to this day, I believe. I can't think of one bigger. And so he, made his decision, and I didn't think it was that big of a deal. I thought I was more concerned. I thought it was weaker that he was going and teaming up with these other two guys and forming a super team down there in Miami. That was my issue. People fucking forget how nice Chris Bosh was, yo. The other day, like there's a page on X called This Guy Rocks, or That Guy Rocked, and they take like older players like that you wouldn't think about, and they show and they're like, yo, don't forget this motherfucker was nice. Chris Bosh was nice, yo. I used to fucking hate, because he played same division as the Knicks, so I used to see Chris Bosh all the time, 4 times a year. Chris Bosh was nice, mid range, step out, hit a 3, hit you with the pass you, dish. Chris Bosh was nice. There's a few players in that LeBron wake, him, Kevin Love, dudes that we forget about because they had to mute their game to be able to coexist with Bron, and they got some rings because of it. But these dudes back when they was, on their original team and they were coming up, they were fucking nice. Kevin Love was nice, double machine, and like 15, 22 and 15 type shit. So yeah, man, this whole, Bron thing and how it ends up, I think I really don't, him going to Philly to me would be fucking crazy, because the scrutiny that you bringing on yourself by going to Philly, them fans are not going to be, so forgiving if things don't go their way. And I don't know if basketball sense it makes LeBron is going to be your power forward on the floor. It's going to be Embiid and Bron, and then, you got Jaylen Brown, Maxey, and Edgecombe. It's kind of a small team. Like, if you play that team against, even like the Knicks, man, I guess, OG's your 4, Yeah, look, it's kind of a small team. And, LeBron, he'll get you some rebounds and everything like that, but he's not giving you really any like serious rim protection at this point of his career. And Embiid is, if he plays 50 games, you're happy. And on defense, he's an absolute traffic cone at this point. And so, yeah, You're involving LeBron and Embiid in pick and rolls all the time on defense if you're playing against them. I just, I don't know. I don't know if I see the basketball fit there. It seems like the whole Cleveland thing, legacy wise, everything that just makes the most sense. Golden State still makes a lot of sense. I think that the Knicks is an interesting one. I don't necessarily want LeBron, as I've stated before. If we, if the guys, if JB and Leon, if they're with it, then I'm with it. I think that basketball wise, it could be good for the Knicks. I think that him taking some of the ball handling pressure off of Brunson, letting Brunson chill, can be good for him in the long terms as far as just like the overall season, and being fresher and not having to deal with that full court pressure where they're fouling him all the way down the floor in the postseason. If they do that to LeBron, they're gonna call a fucking foul. They're not gonna let them molest him up and down the fucking thing like they did to my man Brunson, and. But for me, it's like if I'm Bron, it's got to be Cleveland. It's got to be the Dubs. I think basketball-wise, that Minnesota is an interesting option. I've heard people float Denver. Him and Joker are two-ball centric. It doesn't work. Same reason why, as much as him and Luka had their moments, it didn't quite work. And we're seeing with the New York Knicks and their model, and now even the Celtics somewhat trying to mimic that model. Shout out to my boy Chop. They are saying like, hey, man, we get this one player and we get the players around him that fit. Having these multiple top flight players that need the ball in their hands, I think that's already an issue for Philly. So I think if you add him to Philly, that's an issue. And I think that's an issue if you add him to Denver as well. I keep seeing things where they're talking about Jamal Murray being traded. I'm not trading Jamal Murray. There's not many guys I'm trading Jamal Murray for. Jamal Murray's fucking nice. He's fucking clutch. I can remember my dad for years being like, see, that's what the Knicks need. The Knicks need like a guard who handles the ball, and in big moments, he can get a shot for himself or somebody else, and he's fucking clutch. He knocks him down. Hey, well, from your lips to God's ears, big guy, because we got our guy, and I'll take Brunson over Murray as well. But yeah, man, it's an interesting one. It's an interesting one. I mean, you as a Dubs fan, I know that you're hoping that they bring him on. Are you feeling like it's still a possibility, or do you feeling like that ship has sailed? Talk to me.
Ship hasn't sailed. I would say we're in the bottom of the ninth. We're down by 3 runs, or we're 10 seconds left in the game. We're down by 2 possessions. We need a couple miracle threes because I saw today come out is, the whole Anthony Davis thing still seems in play. And what Washington wants from the Warriors is something I would not be willing to give up for Anthony Davis at this point of his career. Because you got to remember, too, not only with the picks and Jimmy Butler and the pick swaps, you're probably going to have to give him a $300 million extension. Yeah, that's a no for me, dog.
I can't believe that the Warriors brass could be that stupid. It cannot be. Doug, I'm sorry. Come on, man. I don't understand why anybody would invest anything in that guy. Truthfully, I don't. Listen, when he is healthy, he's an all-time player. All time. That nice. It's never the case. And he hurts himself in different ways. It's not even like he has a nagging knee. Like if he had a nagging knee, that'd be one thing. Hey, last year he fucking just ran into somebody and touched him with his hand. Broken hand, you're out. Set him down. Yo, fuck that. The whole Dubs thing, I get it. Bring in LeBron. I think bring in LeBron and then, get whatever you can for Jimmy, just as far as like just more shooters, guys with length who can defend if you can. Just do, or if not, then just, somehow get off that contract, maybe get something for the future. But I don't even understand why you would want to add Anthony Davis to that equation. I don't see it.
No, I don't see it either. Jimmy's actually an expiring contract after this year, which is a good thing. And the only way a trade with Anthony Davis could work is with those two, just because of the matching salaries. And obviously, the one other guy that has a matching salary, we ain't trading. So,
yeah, to me, just don't even just close that door on Anthony Davis, and and keep keep Jimmy and try and move him for some other assets if possible. Shout out to everybody on Facebook, shout out to everybody on YouTube, shout out to everybody on Twitch, shout out to everybody on X and on Instagram. We are live on all of those currently. Pop over to the YouTube, go ahead and subscribe to the channel, hit that notification button. We are also available on all platforms wherever you listen to your podcast. No matter where we're going, just make sure that you go at Independent Nick. That's Independent N.I.C. No K. Appreciate the love. Come on, hey man, talk to me in the comments. If you come in the comments during the show, if you got something decent to say or something, a question that I feel like answering, I will respond. If you have a question for me, It could be about your own personal life. It could be about how I feel about something, some dad advice, some coach advice, whatever the case may be. Hit me up on any of those platforms in the DMs. Ask me the question, and we will answer them live here on the show. That's something that we want to start doing. And yeah, man, next thing we got to talk about is the MSG Risk List. I know that this was on Pablo Torre today. As I told you before, my day has been absolutely fucking crazy. Give me a little bit of background on this, man. What exactly we got going on here?
Okay, so yeah, I went to do a little bit of work today when you hit me up about this. So Madison Square Garden has this risk list, and it's assigned to strictly celebrity fans, and it tracks celebrities and their guests who are trying to get comped tickets. And this database now has roughly, per the show, 39,540 entrants in it. And every celebrity is marked with some sort of score, from as low as flag to as high as banned from MSG. And speaking of banned from MSG, we may know a guy.
Yeah. Hold on. 40K? There's 40,000 celebrities? Is there even 40,000 celebrities?
So it's not even just celebrities. It's like it goes from tech to sports to business to finance, politics. So they all count as celebrities.
Okay. So our guy might be on the list.
Is he famous?
He
does have a great Twitter handle.
I'm not saying that he's not. I'm not saying that he's famous, but you're saying that there's people. Listen. We're not going to give up too much information, but one of those industries that you just named, he does work in one of those industries. He's not necessarily famous. And okay, to give a little bit of backstory on this, so a very good friend of ours, who is in the infamous chat that we always talk about. Chat's been running for very, very long, and there's lots of fantasy sports played amongst all of us, and lots of just it's kind of where I get a lot of my sports news, to be honest with you. When I get to break something in the chat first, I feel good about it. And so he's in the city. He's at MSG. He's a deadhead. I mean, goes and sees them multiple times a year. I would say probably somewhere between like 50 and 100 times at this point. And he's in MSG, and it happens to be Halloween. That's a good point of context. With all of this, let's just remember that he is dressed as a red Crayola crayon. And this dude, he's a 6 foot tall dude. He's 6 foot plus tall dude. He's a bigger guy. So he's a big red Crayola crayon running around at MSG at a Dead show. I don't know how much you know about the Grateful Dead, but almost everybody in the building is, on some sort on a level. Let's just leave it at that. On a level. Some are there's different levels. Okay. Some people are in the middle of the building. Some people are in the penthouse. Some people are on the roof. But he is trying to get from a section to another section, I believe is how the story goes. And, a section that maybe he wasn't supposed to be in. He tries to do some slick shit. MSG security snatches him up, escorts him out the building. Allegedly, there may be a phone that was wiped clean. The details get a little murky. But the next day, because as many of these deadheads do, they go to shows multiple nights in a row at MSG. The shit, you a fan, because that ain't cheap. And so the next day, he is trying to walk back into Madison Square Garden. He said he stepped in through the metal detectors, took like a step and a half, and somebody ran up on him immediately and like pulled him to the side, back you out. So that Garden facial recognition and shit is real. All right, so they're able to see as soon as you walk in. No, him. Yep. That Garden security is serious. That's why Taylor Swift did her wedding there, I believe, is because the ability to, there's multiple underground entrances and shit, so you can't see who gets in and out and be able to have the security and everything on point. And we know, obviously, what happened infamously with Charles Oakley. So that MSG Risk List is some serious shit. But the idea of him getting snatched up as a fucking red crayon and running to the back room, they fucking snatch your phone up, wipe that shit, get out of here, and then trying to come back the next day and taking 2 steps and them snatching you up again. You don't get no fucking refund on your ticket or nothing. Yo. Hey man, I know some people that are associated with the Knicks. So I gotta re-bring this up to him because I know I've talked to him about this before. But we gotta try and get my man back in the MSG, man. We gotta try to get the band lift. Well, I'm gonna talk to him about it. We'll see what we can do. I definitely can't promise anything. It's most likely that I won't be able to do anything, but I'll try. I'll try. Um, all right, Bomb. Anything else you got? I got a question for you, but I want to see if there's anything else you got first.
Yeah, I was saying, do you want to hear some of the names on this risk list?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
some of the levels that they're at.
So wait, so they put out the actual list?
There were just a few names released.
Okay.
So there wasn't, obviously we're not going through.
Shout out to Pablo Torre, by the way, man. I used to really be in the Levitard for years, and I got introduced to Pablo Torre on there. And they always made the joke, like the shtick was that he just thinks he's smarter than everybody, and now obviously he's out here exposing people. At one point he was like hinting towards like a Brunson type situation, something having to do with Brunson and the tampering when he came over to the Knicks, everything. Just stay the fuck away from my boy JB, the King of New York. But other than that, Pablo, I fuck with you. Go ahead.
He did break the Kawhi news, the Aspire news.
Yeah. Not just broke. Like, it's not like that was a story that was about to come out that he broke. He was the one who, basically did the investigation.
Yep. He did all the digging. So with the celeb list here, so like your the Nick diehards, they're low risk. So like your Tracy Morgans, your Ben Stillers. We get to medium risk. We've got Morgan Wallen. And the really interesting name on this, when they were talking about this too, and I found it really fascinating, was Fat Joe, who's apparently, he's always been like very complimentary of James Dolan, but I guess where him being a medium risk came in was that he got flagged for being connected to Jadakiss because Jada was connected or was very critical of James Dolan.
Interesting, because by the way, one of the best podcasts in the entire fucking world, especially if you got like older people in your life that are from New York City. It's so nostalgic to watch because like Fat Joe reminds me of one of my uncles. The way that they talk, like their whole like cadence, the way they talk, wait, yo, and like the way they tell stories and shit, it's fucking hilarious. It's honestly, like I love that podcast. I don't miss an episode of that podcast. It's fucking fantastic. I like save it for Friday nights when I'm chilling at the home and I'm I'm having a couple cocktails. I'm stepping outside. I like to save my Joe and Jada for then. And Jada often talks about how, well, Joe, you got, because Joe was talking about how everybody's hitting him up, being like, yo, trying to get Nick tickets and shit, trying to get on the float. He was the ambassador of hip hop for the float. And he's like, I can't get nobody on, man. I don't got it like that. Like, I can't get nobody tickets. It's the fucking playoffs. It's the Knicks. Like, them shits ain't just laying around. And Jada was talking about how, they got me back in the fucking, I'm in the 200s and shit. I'm just happy to be there. So definitely don't call me. So Jada's definitely somebody who, he's got an opinion on shit, and he's not fearful of speaking up. So I'm not surprised that got Fat Joe flagged. This is going to be a funny conversation on the podcast when they end up getting to it.
Oh, it's gonna be absolutely amazing. I can't wait for that day to hear it. I'm sure it's gonna be in the very next episode.
No doubt.
Also on the high risk list, we have Lil Jon, DaBaby, and my guy Freddie Gibbs, man.
Yo, you a big Freddie Gibbs guy?
I do like Freddie Gibbs.
I fucking love Freddie. I love Freddie.
One of my favorite songs ever.
No, what song is that?
How We Do.
Oh yeah. I fuck with Freddie Gibbs. Heavy. He's got a verse on the Kanye album Vultures 1 that came out not too long ago that I fucking love. I fucks with Freddie heavy. Who knows exactly what those dudes did?
I got no idea. He was on the high risk list, and then we've got the final two levels, which are orange and red. We have do not host and we have banned. Julia Fox is on the do not host list, so she got to pay for her own tickets.
Okay. I could tell you one person who's on the ban list. Go ahead.
I can tell you one too, but I think we're thinking of the same guy. The one famous person is Lil TJ.
Who the fuck is that?
I've never heard of him, but that was the one name they released.
Lil TJ. What the fuck you was doing in the garden, Lil TJ? I don't even know who you are, TJ. Lil TJ, Jay. I've no idea who this is. I'm showing my age right here. I'm sure that there's, most younger people are like, you don't know who, I don't know who Lil TJ is. But yeah, man, hey, listen, you don't fuck with Dolan. That's like when Charles Oakley was like saying how like nobody came over and said what's up to him when he was in Cleveland for the Knicks to close out Game 4, and all the Knicks, obviously the Knicks travel, they bring all their legends with them everywhere, and no Patrick Ewing, all those guys came over to like say anything to him. First of all, Patrick shouldn't have shit to say to you because you keep talking crazy shit about him, which is why I have no sympathy for Oakley in this entire situation. But yeah, he shouldn't be hoping to get any type of love from Pat. And also, guys, they're all on the Knicks payroll. Dolan's got him on the PJ, going to the games, got him sitting there on the baseline in front of everybody. Do you think these dudes, knowing your relationship with Dolan, knowing the fact that you got an active case out there against Dolan, you think these dudes are going to come over and like dap you up and act all chummy and cool with you? Fuck no. You stupid if you don't understand that. And, hey man, don't fuck with Dolan, dog. Don't fuck with Dolan. Just if you want to be able to exist around, adjacent, or having anything to do with the New York Knicks, Madison Square Garden, do not fuck with James Dolan. Garden security is on point. I don't care if you're somebody who gets kicked out of a dead show. The next day you take a step in the building, you getting tossed. So do not fuck with Dolan. Straight like that. All right, Bomb, I got a question for you, man. We're going to play a little bit of fair or foul, okay? So I'm going to give you a little bit of setup here. So as I explained at the beginning of the episode, my family, hotel, it's been crazy, okay? And so we're eating out a lot, can't cook in the kitchen. It's too hot here, and with the no AC. And my wife, she went to Bash's, and she picked up some sandwiches for us. And she picks up the sandwich and she brings it home. Now, one thing about a deli sandwich for me, Bash's is a pretty good deli sandwich. It's not quite as good as Jersey Mike's. It's not as good as any random deli that you would find in New York or New Jersey, or parts of Connecticut for that matter. But we make do. We do our best. And so she brings it home, and she's like, "Yeah, you're gonna have to probably add a little bit more mayo and some pepper to it." She knows that for me, one of the most important things when you're making a sandwich is to put pepper on it, and that pepper, if there's mayo, has to be touching the mayo. I need a strong peppering over my mayo. I love pepper in general. I like very coarse black pepper. And she was like, and I was like, what? She's like, I asked the lady, she said, there's no pepper back there. And it made me think of another time where I went to a donut shop, a place that has, it's similar to like a Dunkin' Donuts, but it's our version out here in Arizona. It's called Bosa Donuts. And I was there, and I asked for a breakfast sandwich. I love a good breakfast sandwich. Bacon, egg, and cheese is like the iconic, breakfast sandwich in New York, New Jersey, Northeast, BEC, SPK, bacon, egg, and cheese, salt, pepper, ketchup. Obviously you got the pork roll as well. If you're from Central Jersey and South Jersey, it's pork roll. If you're from North Jersey, it's Taylor ham. It's really pork roll. Taylor ham is the brand, but anyway. And so I'm there, and the bacon, egg, and cheese is the iconic New York sandwich. People start recently. This whole chopped cheese shit has been talked about. Chopped cheese is good, and that is something that you can get in delis in New York. It's not the iconic sandwich. It's the bacon, egg, and cheese. That's the shit that is like, that's always been the shit that you can get, and whether it be at the bodega, in the deli, or even just from like a fucking little stand. You know what I'm saying? But so I go and I order. I personally, my sandwich is the sausage, egg, and cheese on a croissant. I like American cheese. None of it. I don't know no fancy cheese. I like American cheese, sausage, egg, and cheese on a croissant. Butter the croissant. That sandwich as well. I like a lot of pepper on there. And so I say to the young lady who's making the sandwich, I'm like, yeah, I tell her what I want. Sausage, egg, and cheese. I like, depending on how I feel that day, a little tomato, sausage, egg, and cheese, tomato, a lot of pepper. And I tell her, put a crazy amount on there, way more than you would think you would put on there. And she's like, oh, I'm sorry, we don't have any pepper here. She said, there's pepper over there. And I went over and I grabbed the pepper and I handed it to her. And I said, just put it on before you put it together. And she kind of looked at me like I was crazy. I was like, yeah, you could do that. Right. Assume the sale. And my wife looks at me like, yo, you're fucking crazy, yo. Like, you can't just tell this girl that she needs to put the pepper on the sandwich or whatever. Like, you just put it on after yourself. And I contend to her, first of all, it's a very easy request, okay? Especially even though you're not waiting on me, you're gonna fucking, when it's time to pay, you're gonna turn this thing around and it's gonna ask me to tip anyway. So, you know, if you want that couple dollars, because you're getting a couple dollars from me in that situation. It's not a you're waiting on me 20% situation. You're getting a couple dollars from me. You're getting $1. If I'm just getting like a coffee, you're getting $1. If I'm making a bigger order, which I was that day for, you know, me and other people, then you might get a couple bucks. But that has a lot to do with whether or not you take this pepper and you put it on my fucking sandwich. Now, she says that asking them to put the pepper on, giving them some pepper packets and being like, hey, can you just put it on the sandwich? She says that's foul. I say it's fair. Baum, what do you got?
I think it's fair. You're paying them to service and make the sandwich. So in this case, I say it's fair. If you want to ask for that, I think that should be granted. It's really a super reasonable request. I would say that, like, you know, I like to be able to put my own condiments on and like put as much as I want on it. So this way there's no, you know, if I screw it up, I screwed it up, and, you know, you can't blame them, but I still think it's a more than fair request.
So first and foremost, they should have salt and pepper in the back. They should have salt and pepper around them in their station. If you got,
and what deli does not have salt and pepper?
If you putting spreads on and shit, I don't give a fuck what. And this is at a supermarket. My first job ever was at a Stop and Shop deli behind the thing, and we had to make people sandwiches and whatnot, and you had to make them however they want. And there was definitely some salt and pepper, as well as some oil and vinegar back there. And so they should have it back there. But this is my thing. I think this is the same with the deli sandwich, but especially when we're talking about the breakfast sandwich. Once you put that sandwich together, a certain synergy starts to happen, where if there's a little yolk in that egg, it starts to now sink into the bread. The cheese and everything is melting and over the egg and over the meat, and they're all coming together. Once you get that sandwich and you get it put together, opening up that sandwich to now add more pepper, you've ruined the integrity of the entire breakfast sandwich. The croissant is one of those things where it's made to be opened up, and then you put the stuff in and you almost close it again. So I think that, you know, deconstructing the sandwich, and I think whenever you deconstruct a sandwich, like even just the sandwich that I had to deconstruct when she got home just to put some extra, a little bit more mayo in there and add some pepper to it, it's not the same. The bread never goes on exactly the same again. And once you deconstruct the sandwich, you're losing the overall integrity of the sandwich. And again, like you said, I don't think it's an unfair request at all.
Yeah, in this case, I'm going to call it. We're going to rule this one a fair ball.
You know, okay, fair or foul. This is if in the comments, if you want to know whether or not something is fair or foul, Baum, throughout your time in the world, if you ever have some things that you're kind of wondering, like, you know, hey, is this just I feel this way, and you know, or is it, you know, something that, you know, Nick or other people, they feel the same about, just bring it to the show. We're gonna start doing a little bit of fair and foul. Other than that, anything else you got, brother?
I don't really have much. I mean, again, we went through the World Cup. We went through LeBron. We have another match tomorrow. What is it? Spain-Belgium tomorrow.
Spain-Belgium tomorrow. Yes.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I'll be grudge watching that with my nephew for the first. Yeah, getting to hang out with him for a little bit tomorrow. So that'll be tight.
That's what's up. That's what's up. How old is he?
He's about to be 1 this weekend. I'm off to Denver for a quick 24 hours tomorrow just to go see him.
No doubt, man. That's what's up. That's what's up. As an uncle myself, there's nothing better. It's the greatest role to play. You get to have all the fun and then hand them back when you're done with them. And you know, I've met your sister before. Congratulations to her and her family. And yeah, man, enjoy your time with the fam.
Yeah, appreciate that, man.
All right, man. It's your boy, Independent Nick. Appreciate you guys. We'll be back next week on Tuesday. Have a great weekend. Yeah, man. It's your boy, N.I.C.